All right, welcome back. Back to the quick little news of the day video here. Just a few things on this board today regarding mainly roster shuffling, which is of course something that we should be seeing quite a bit of throughout the next couple weeks, especially as we get closer and closer to those regional playoffs. And once we actually get past them, maybe some of those big name teams that did make it will go through some changes. We'll have to see. It'll probably be based on the results of those regional playoffs. But starting off, a lot of this news coming from Western Europe. First little bit of news, we have Leslao and Supream, who are now out of Alliance. So that means that Alliance is down to just two members. We have Nico Baby, who's been around for a long time as well. He was one of the only two members that survived the TI-10 roster shuffle. And then we have Aramis, who is sticking around so far, although we don't know if there's going to be more changes to come. By the way that the season had gone for Alliance, and by the way things seem to be going with the team currently, we could end up seeing maybe a full new roster, or maybe even possible more changes with maybe just one member staying, Nico Baby maybe. But as of right now, we don't really know. But we do know that Leslao actually came out and talked about how he actually found it to be kind of a relief that he was let go of the team. You know, this team obviously did not probably play up to what they were expecting. They definitely fell behind in the race of the region, only picking up one win against Cool Guys, who also have just previously disbanded earlier today. We'll see what Alliance does with this new direction. Again, now that they're in the lower division, there might not be as much incentive for players to want to come play with the team, but they do have the benefit of being one of the bigger organizations in the pro scene. Not one of the biggest, obviously, but they are a bigger one, meaning that they're going to have probably more monetary incentives to bring in new players, but we'll see how it goes. Again, there's already been a lot of roster changes, and with the way that Leslao kind of phrased it, saying that he was a little bit relieved to be out of the team, you have to imagine that there were some underlying issues with the team and the way that it functioned as a whole. So yeah, we'll have to see how this next tour goes for Alliance. They're obviously hoping to get back to the upper division for tour number 3, and we'll see where they go from here. And speaking of Cool Guys, who I previously just mentioned, disbanded earlier today. And, you know, no disrespect to them, but I'm kind of glad, because now that I'm starting to draw the logos on the board, that their logo was by far the hardest one for me to draw yet. And so I'm kind of glad that I'm not going to be having to be drawing those anytime soon. I know there's a lot of more difficult ones to be drawing, but regardless, yeah, that roster consisted of Thug, Noob, Funnick, Omar, and DNZ. From what I can tell, they did not have a coach for this tour, and they are now completely disbanded. And we're very likely going to be seeing a bunch of these players getting picked up by some teams, either in Div 1, Div 2, maybe some players moving on to Eastern Europe or some other region around the world. But as of right now, we don't know where they are. They're going to be free agents. Some of these players had pretty fantastic seasons. I thought Funnick was playing very, very well for the team, and was a big part of when the team was looking good. It was definitely him being a big part of that. But again, this is a team that really struggled to show any sort of progress throughout the season. There was that one series against OG at around the midway point where they actually won a game. It was their first win of the season, which would end up being their only one. And again, I've mentioned this a few times, I was hoping that was maybe going to be the start of a turnaround for them, even though they may not be able to, you know, completely turn around their season and avoid relegation. Maybe they'll surprise a few people, play the spoiler, be the underdog. And that's not really what we saw. They just kind of started to fall back into their old patterns, and they were losing series, and it was quite one-sided. So yeah, this lineup obviously didn't end up working in upper division of Western Europe. We won't get to see how it would have worked in the lower division, and we'll have to see where these players go. So best of luck to all of them, and that means that there is now likely going to be another slot available in the lower division of Western Europe for this upcoming tour. Obviously, we have 2 every single tour for open qualifiers, and now there's likely going to be a 3rd. So we'll see. The Cool Guys roster could technically still own that DBC slot, depending on who is the actual owner of it. So they could just end up building an entirely new roster around the player who still owns it, or they could do what some other teams did in the previous seasons, where they give their slot to another team that they think is worthy of having that slot. Although it is a lower division slot, so it's not like it's one of those high stakes slots in the upper division. But yeah, and last little bit of news here revolving around the actual game client, which I usually don't like to talk too much about, like, you know, actual game updates and patches and all that sort of stuff. But there has been an update for the fantasy, which is right up my alley. I, of course, do previews every single week that we have matches, and those are going to be coming up once again once we have our regional playoff starting. And they have basically extended the fantasy to have 2 additional weeks worth, in which we're obviously going to be having 2 separate weekends where we're going to be having our 14 regional playoffs. They've already released which regions are going to be playing on which weekend, and so those will be available to you. And yeah, you just log in, make your picks for that week, and you're good. So yeah, just thought I would let you guys know. But again, when I do my previews, I will be including my fantasy picks for each and every one of those. And yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I got a lot of videos coming out through the next few days. I know I've been really postponing my reviews a lot lately. I'm trying to wait a little bit longer so we would get maybe a little bit closer to those regional playoffs starting. That way they're a little bit more relevant. If you guys want to see them sooner rather than later, let me know. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. All the sources for everything I talked about in this video in the description down below. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow with another video.